Insightful podcasts by informative hosts. Insights into Things, a podcast network. Welcome to Insights into Teens, a podcast series exploring the issues and challenges of today's youth. Your hosts are Joseph and Madison Whalen, a father and daughter team making their way through the challenges of the teenage years.
Welcome to Insights into Teens. This is episode 181, Dealing with Toxic Friends. I'm your host, Joseph Whalen, and my creative and inspired co-host, Madison Whalen.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing today, Maddie?
I'm all right. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Before we get into any deep topics today, I did want to offer a quick programming note. Last week, our episode 180 episode ran a little bit longer than they normally do, and we ran into some video production issues in the last segment there, so I kind of had to put some makeshift solution together to finish that last week. So hopefully we won't have that problem this week. I've changed the storage location, and I just wanted to apologize to the audience for that if that caused any inconvenience. So besides that, what new is going on with you?
Well, not too much. I'm on break now, which is fun.
So how long are you on break for?
Up until Monday.
Okay. This is for
I think it's like in service, but also for like veterans.
Veterans Day?
Yeah.
That's cool. Doing anything planned, anything interesting?
I mean, I'm hanging out with one of my friends on Friday, so that's fun.
Well, there you go. You being social. Look at that.
I know. It doesn't always happen.
Well, is it one of your toxic friends, though, that you're hanging out with? Or is it, non-toxic?
Non-toxic.
That's good. So that is what we're talking about today. Friendships during middle school and high school are essential for teens' health and development. Toxic friendships involve cruelty, rejection, and shame, and can have a negative impact on teens' well-being and mental health. Parents can support their teens by listening to them, getting to know their teens' friends, teaching them about mutually supportive friendships, and letting them decide for themselves who they want to keep as friends. In this episode of Insights into Teens, we're going to talk about how mental health treatment can help adolescents build self-esteem, confidence, and skills for building healthy connections. But before we do that, though, I do want to take a moment to invite our listening and viewing audience to subscribe to the podcast. You can find audio and video versions of all of our podcasts listed as Insights into Things. You can find audio versions of this podcast listed as Insights into Teens. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast these days. I would also invite our audience to write into us. I already invited them to subscribe. You can subscribe twice. We don't mind. But I would also invite you to write in, give us your feedback. Tell us how we're doing. Give us suggestions for show topics. You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com. You can find us on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it this week at insights_things. Or you can find links to all of our social media and much more on our official website at www.insightsintothings.com. Shall we?
We shall.
We shall. So research for our topic this week has come from a resource that we've kind of been going to the well a lot with lately, and that's the Newport Academy. They say that adolescence emphasizes the importance of peer connections, which can be both significant and thrilling for teenagers. However, Navigating relationships beyond the family during this phase can be bewildering and emotional. Toxic friendships during this period can adversely affect teenagers' mental well being and create challenges for the entire family. Such toxic friendships arise when mistreatment occurs, including gossip, hurtful remarks, and manipulation. Parents may feel compelled to intervene and manage these toxic friendships for their children, but attempting to remove negative influence can have unintended consequences. Instead, engaging in conversations with teenagers about their toxic friendships and empowering them to make positive choices is advised.
So, what exactly is a toxic teen friendship? In healthy teen friendships, there's a sense of mutual support and recognition. Positive friendships are characterized by reciprocity,
Reciprocity?
reciprocity, safety, and lack of judgment. However, teenagers are strongly driven by the need for social connections and belonging, sometimes causing them to remain in toxic friendships out of fear of rejection and isolation. Toxic friend groups can involve teens as both instigators and victims of behaviors resembling, quote, mean girl dynamics, such as exclusion, betrayal, rumors, and shaming. Such situations might lead parents to disapprove of their teens' friends. It's important to note that toxic behavior is not limited to teenage girls. Individuals of any gender or sexual orientation can exhibit harmful friendship traits.
Parents should consider that their child's toxic friend might be dealing with an unspoken challenge. Children who have experienced trauma or mental health issues might express their pain through problematic behavior. This doesn't excuse their actions, but underscores the need for understanding and support. While this doesn't justify remaining in a toxic friendship, comprehending the reasons behind mean behavior can encourage compassion among parents and teenagers themselves.
So here are some of the behaviors toxic teen friends may exhibit. They may these include criticizing or making fun of their friend, gossiping excessively either to or about them, insulting them in the guise of, quote, helpful statements, trying to control their time or other friendships, pressuring them to engage in risky behaviors such as alcohol or drug use, posting negative things about them on social media, taking advantage of them, dismissing their needs and preferences, embarrassing them in front of other kids, or gaslighting them if they try to call them out on their behavior.
So we threw a big word out there, reciprocity. You know what reciprocity actually is?
Unfortunately, no.
So reciprocity is a very fancy word for if you do something to me, I'm going to do something to you.
I was going to say, it sounded similar to reciprocate, which I do know.
That's exactly what it is. It's doing something back to somebody else when they do it to you. So I didn't want to leave that hanging out there in case anyone didn't understand what the word was. So do you or have you had toxic relationships with friends in the past?
Honestly, I think I did at least have one. I'm not in a relationship with that person anymore, and it certainly wasn't as bad as it probably could have gotten. But considering what our friendship kind of consisted of, I'd say it was pretty toxic.
Yeah, as a kid, and I didn't realize this until later on, I had a very good friend of mine who probably would fit into the toxic category. And it wasn't that they were mean to me or anything like that. It was, I would wind up getting in trouble because of them. They were, I would say they were kind of spoiled, right? So they came from kind of a more privileged background than I did. And just out of sheer boredom, he would do things that he knew were wrong just to get a rise out of his parents because his parents were kind of distant from him. And by association with him, I wound up getting tied up with several of these schemes that he did. Nothing, no breaking the laws or anything dangerous or anything, but just stupid stuff that kids would get into. And, my parents tried to point out to me that he was toxic to me and they didn't like him. And various other non-flattering descriptive words. And I did, he was my friend. He had been my friend for a long time, and I didn't want to hear what they had to say. So I ignored it, and then eventually we wound up drifting apart, and that distance allowed me to see that he was a toxic person. How did you determine the person or people that have been toxic to you were toxic?
Well, the one, it was kind of obvious. So I had this friend when I was a freshman. He was in my math class. And, we started talking because my other friend needed to give something to him, and somehow that ended up correlating in us speaking. And apparently he had lunch with me as well, so he would occasionally come over to me and my other friend, because really we were the only two that, she was the only other one I interacted with. So, it was fine up to a point. He did have some less than desirable traits, specifically in terms of his view on his romantic relationships with women. And, he was weirdly open about it. And, both me and my other female friend, we were like, okay, you're a bit strange, but, you're respectful to us, so,
Right.
It's whatever. However, there was one instance where it was kind of eye-opening, at least afterwards. I didn't initially pick up on it. At one point, we were, eating lunch, and it was usual. And the thing is, me and my other friend, we had completely different styles of dressing. She dressed more feminine. I dressed in, hoodies and pants. And, nothing wrong with either style. And at one point, he ended up going, Maddie, I think if you dressed more like your other friend, you'd be happier.
Mm.
And that, came out of nowhere. And, I didn't even really pick up on it at first. And, I wasn't even technically offended. I'm just like, what? And, he kind of went on a bit about saying how, if you dressed more feminine, if you wore makeup, I think you'd be happier. And thankfully, my other friend was like, hey, I don't think that's an okay thing to say. So at one point, he ended up leaving, and then, my other friend was like, hey, be okay, that wasn't okay for him to say. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And we technically still talked afterwards, but I don't talk to him anymore. And, that always kind of stuck out to me, and it was kind of like the one time I really ever kind of got insulted, and it's like, huh.
Interesting. So you've had a toxic friend, and you have many friends. Do you think you are a toxic friend to any of your friends?
I mean, I'd hope not. I try not to be, because most of the time I try to make sure that, my friends are well taken care of, and in a lot of instances, I've kind of been considered to be the mom of the friend group in the ways that I would normally have all the stuff that my other friends would need, and if we were ever to hang out, we'd always be the ones supplying, hey, we're gonna be at my house, hey, we're gonna supply you food, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And obviously a toxic friend could probably do that, but I never try to demean my friends when they ever come to me with, something that they're struggling with. In fact, I'm nicer to them than I am to myself, so,
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway.
that's another podcast altogether.
Moving on.
So the friend who was toxic to you, do you know why they acted like this? Was it issues at home? Did they have a certain issue with you? Do you have any idea what their motivation was for acting the way they did?
Being honest, I don't entirely know. I don't really remember if he told me much about his home life or if there was anything. He probably did, it's just I never really picked up too much on it. But I think it kind of makes sense because the thing is, me and my friend, he jokingly referred to himself as a womanizer, kind of, in the ways that, he had this, I don't know, again, like I said, he had a weird complex when it came to his relationship with women, strictly romantically.
Right.
And
Sounds like he was compensating for something more than anything, really.
Yeah, and to be fair, maybe that's something to do with how he ended up getting raised. I feel like that was kind of, I don't know, the way that he seemed about women, despite the fact that, he technically respected me and my friend. I feel like that, like, something at home could have shaped his idea of his romantic relationship towards women, and then also his perception of, I guess, how women express themselves by their looks.
Right.
So I feel like in a way it all could be connected, but I don't really have enough evidence to prove it entirely. So.
Well, and based strictly on what you just said, he sounds incredibly shallow and probably severely lacking in self confidence, and he's trying to put up some kind of front to compensate for these things. That's just my 2 cents on it.
And he was open about it, at least with us. Like, he never really hid that sort of thing, and he was like, I'm like this, it's whatever.
Yeah, that's really not something to brag about, though.
Mm.
Anyway, I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk about why teen friendships are so important. We'll be right back. For over 7 years, the Second Sith Empire has been the premier community guild in the online game Star Wars: The Old Republic. With hundreds of friendly and helpful active members, a weekly schedule of nightly events, annual guild meet and greets, and an active community both on the web and on Discord. The Second Sith Empire is more than your typical gaming group. We're family. Join us on the Starforge server for nightly events such as operations, flashpoints, world boss hunts, Star Wars trivia, guild lottery, and much more. Visit us on the web today at www.thesecondsithempire.com.
Welcome back to Insights into Teens. Today we're talking about dealing with toxic friends. And now we're going to discuss why teen friendships are so important. Teen friendships are a crucial part of teen development. Humans need to feel like they belong in order to be happy and well-adjusted. Middle school and high school are the most formative years for finding belonging and acceptance. Moreover, teens are learning social skills, how to communicate with peers, and how to empathize with others through their friendships.
Most important, supportive teen friendships make teens more emotionally and physically healthy. Caring adolescent friendships help dispel anxiety and depression, improve cognitive function, and even boost immunity. While parents are always important to a young person's development, teens need good friendships to thrive. They often turn toward one another to deal with stress and difficult emotions, and they support each other through difficult times and adverse experiences in and outside of school.
Young humans are wired to seek out friends.
You silly humans.
I was going to say, I thought that said weird for a moment. If a child's friend turns toxic, it can have a significant impact on their well-being and self-esteem. The need to belong and be accepted drives teen behavior. This is one of the reasons kids get into toxic friendships. If your teen has friends who are toxic, they may be afraid of the consequences of ending these friendships. Kids in both middle school and high school are highly motivated by the desire to belong, to be part of a group, and to gain approval of popular peers.
So, what about the influence of teen friendships? Teens strongly influence each other, often mirroring their friends' behaviors in middle and high school. Teen friendships can have positive effects by fostering support, kindness, and empathy among friends. Positive behaviors of one friend can inspire others to be compassionate and helpful. However, negative friendships can also lead to poor decisions and behaviors, and I'm proof of that. Parents worry about their teens being influenced by toxic peers or engaging in negative peer pressure. Research indicates that teens are more likely to use substances if their friends do so.
So, how teens' toxic friendships impact their mental health. Toxic friendships have a negative impact on teens' mental health, potentially leading to or worsening conditions like anxiety, depression, and isolation due to elements like rejection, cruelty, and gaslighting. These unhealthy relationships can result in loneliness, low self esteem, and emotional distress.
Teens affected by toxic friendships might exhibit troubling behaviors and emotional changes that seem unfamiliar and alarming. Patience and support are crucial during this period, as rejection is particularly difficult for teenagers to endure. It's important to observe signs that suggest they require extra assistance. If their needs surpass what you can offer, seeking mental health treatment is a viable option. And, we've talked about peer pressure in the past. How influential is peer pressure for you on a day to day basis?
Um, I guess I'm certainly not as peer pressured as I probably could be, although, despite not being the most social person, I do still want to, fit in with my friends in a way. Um, and I guess none of them have really gotten to the point where they've pressured me into doing too many things, and if there was ever something that my friends had wanted me to do, it was usually just out of, hey, there's this new thing we're doing, or hey, I'm kind of not super into doing this either.